Hi everybody and welcome to a brand new week of TNT as we whip around Thailand and a bit of Southeast Asia, check on the main news stories. And if you type in Thailand news into the Google machine today, something is fairly obvious. You find out that you've got these 5 stories coming up as the top 5 stories, all referring to the horrible storms in Chiang Mai over the weekend. Channel News Asia saying Thai authorities urge caution after hailstorm in Chiang Mai. We've got the New Straits Times reporting videos of hailstorm in Thailand goes viral. Thai PBS World, about 100 houses damaged during rain and hailstorms in Chiang Mai. Reuters, Thai authorities urged caution after hailstorm in northern province. And The Star saying that Thai authorities urging caution to people after hailstorms in northern province. So Thai PBS World, their headline we've just reporting about 600 houses have been affected. It happened on Saturday afternoon, causing damage mostly in the sub-districts of the city. The Mea Rim, San Kampang and San Sai were affected by the storms. They began around 3 p.m. And we can see 222, 57 and 300 houses affected in those districts. Also 3 cars and a garage in Sam Kampang district were damaged when 2 uprooted trees fell on them. Another story from Thai PBS World, rain and hailstorms hit Chiang Mai, causing widespread property damage. And then the story calling them summer rain and hailstorms. And hailstorms they were indeed. Now, these are a bit obviously unseasonal, but they hit and they hit hard with very high winds. Let's check out some of the video and the coverage. Well, here's some screenshots I've taken, and that's not snow, that's hail. And some of those hailstones are quite big, you can see held in her hands. There were other photos of much bigger hailstones as well, and I think over the next few days we'll hear about cars with windscreens broken and stuff like that. Let's check this video. This is from MCOT, and it shows houses being unroofed, a lot of damage inside the house. This man just surveying the damage, showing the cameras around, and that roof just ain't there anymore. Here's some more video from MCOT showing the ferocity of the storm, and that just sweeping through the main city district of Chiang Mai. So as we said, unseasonal indeed. Now, as far as we know, there's no warnings about people heading to Chiang Mai at the moment. Clearly they've got the situation under control, and a lot of the areas have been cleaned up already. If there's any further information about that, we'll certainly pass it on, and if there's breaking news about any particular damage, we'll bring that to you as well as the day goes. Now, the next story is also an update on a story we did on Friday about the underage sex workers found at the illegal bar in Bangla Road in Patong, Phuket, and the update to that. And this is from the PhuketExpress.com, and it says that foreign owner flees Thailand after bar raid in Patong uncovers child sex exploitation, suspected network in Pattaya and Bangkok, and an illegal bar on Bangla Road was raided, uncovering underage prostitutes with 6 victims rescued. 2 suspects were arrested who claimed the real bar owner is a foreigner. So they're digging in deep, and they're finding out that this may indeed have been owned by another one of these Thai shelf nominee companies. 5 Patong senior police have been transferred after an illegal bar on Bangla Road was raided, uncovering the 6 victims of child sexual exploitation who were rescued being minors under the age of 18. And reporting that Big Joke, I don't know why they don't just call him Surachat Hakpan. We know he's got a nickname. We don't need to be reminded about it in every single story. Get over it. But they told the Phuket Express that the bar is related to another bar network in Bangkok and Pattaya. The bar might have been operated as a nominee in which Thai people registered for them with some foreign shareholders. It was also reported that the main foreign owner was married to a Thai national. Obviously, being married to a Thai would make ownership of a company and just the operation of any business a lot easier. The real foreign owner has now fled from Thailand to Laos, said Big Joke, and because nobody knows, they've had to report again, who commonly goes by his nickname gained due to his sense of humour and love of the Thai meal jock. Well, okay, I think we get it. We never want to hear that again. Just refer to him as the Assistant Commissioner of Police in Thailand. And the story also said police are also inspecting bars across Phuket, Pattaya and Bangkok this weekend to ensure no venues are exploiting minors. All that, of course, is the very least that we'd expect. And, of course, we've now got one less of these illegal bars operating with underage sex workers. So we've got a story coming up a bit later too about some new legislation coming to Parliament that may affect this story. Now, I should be also thanking 5 Star Marine, the sponsor of the program. Now, next week they're sending me out on a 5-day tour, not a 3-hour tour, and I'm going to be travelling around Phang Nga Bay. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm going to be staying. Could be in a tent on the beach for as far as I know, but I'm taking you with me and we'll be doing the show from presumably a different island every day. So that's happening next week. So big thanks to 5 Star Marine if you're looking for a premium private tour off the island of Phuket to any of the some 32 islands around the main island of Phuket. Some beautiful beaches and some very nice terrain to see. Take your camera with you, but a big thanks to 5 Star Marine. There's a link in the description in this video. On TNT on a Monday, and the Bangkok Post is reporting that they're coming up for air. Thailand's surging PM2.5 dust pollution is damaging both the economy and people's health, but shows little sign of abating. I would dare say it's also affecting tourism. At some stage, this news is filtering through to the rest of the world, and it would be affecting people's desire to come to parts of Thailand, especially up north during the first 3 months of each year. The story goes on to say that as the ultrafine dust accumulates, blanketing many provinces, businesses and households are increasingly complaining about the health and economic impact, and we head up to Chiang Mai, a top tourist destination. This month earned the unwanted title of Worst Air Quality on the IQ Air Global Index. So that's the same website that we use to show you the air monitoring around the country. And Chiang Mai was rated as having the world's worst air pollution with unsafe levels of PM2.5 for 2 consecutive days on March the 11th and the 12th. And Marissa is back, the president of the Thai Hotels Association, often acting as the spokesperson. She says it's been a persistent problem for many years, particularly affecting tourism in the north. She says alleviating this seasonal pollution has proven challenging as it requires integrated collaboration between ministries such as agriculture and cooperatives, natural resources and environment and transport. And I've suggested you need to get those ministries in all the countries around Southeast Asia to be working together. And she goes on to say, if Thailand is going to make tourism a national agenda, air pollution and environmental issues must be the top priority as tourists are coming here for leisure. Nothing truer has been spoken. She says the authorities should have a concrete plan to control the real causes of air pollution, such as the burning of agricultural fields, carbon emissions and dust from construction sites. Well, it's the burning of the agricultural fields which is causing the main problem during these 3 months. And at least now these spokespeople and members of the government and authorities are actually admitting that these agricultural fires are the main cause of the PM2.5. So I think that at least is a step forward. She goes on to say that officials also need to tackle other environmental problems such as garbage at natural attractions like beaches. Well, yeah, that's probably another story that deserves a full report. But yes, rubbish bins at beaches, my goodness. We've been calling out for those for years and would make a big difference if we had somewhere to actually throw our rubbish. Now, just to cement what I was saying earlier, again, I draw your attention to this fire maps, and this is available to everybody, including Marissa, including the head of the national parks, including the Prime Minister, or anybody else that's got fingers and the internet. They can access these maps, and you can see that even though Thailand has sort of cleaned up its mess as far as fires are concerned to a large degree, it's these fires, particularly in Laos and Cambodia and up around northwest Myanmar, and the wind direction that combined is causing the problem. So I'm not that smart, But I can find that particular information, and those fire maps are live. So you're watching the reports of those fires in real time. And if I can do this, I'm sure a lot of other people can do it and see what the real cause of this bad PM 2.5 smoke is every year. We move on to our next story now, and the Bangkok Post reporting that a draft bill would protect and legalise sex work. I suppose this alludes partly back to the story we did a bit earlier, and it would seek to address minimum age, minimum wage and other protections along with licensing of operators, and a bill to protect sex workers is being drafted to legalise the profession. So, yes, being drafted at the moment, and with an election on the way, we think it's going to be sometime in the first 3 weeks of May. That will probably be announced this week, the actual election date. But even after the election, it's going to take a few months to get a coalition together, nominate a prime minister, and then sit down for the first parliament. So this drafted legislation won't see the light of day or a reading in parliament until later this year. And the ministry will submit the proposal to the new government for approval after the election. If passed, it would lead to the scrapping of the Prevention and Suppression of Prostitution in 1996. So indeed it would change that to actually legalise and acknowledge the existence of prostitution in Thailand. The highlight of the law is that those who provide sex services must be willing to do so. And the draft bill prohibits people below the age of 18 from taking part in the sex trade as sellers or buyers. And the second paragraph there, the draft stipulates that payment for such services must be at an appropriate rate, not based on the minimum wage law. So that's currently between about 330 and 400 baht per day, depending on which parts of Thailand you're talking about. And of course, that wouldn't apply to people working in the sex trade. They'd also have to undergo physical checks, and they can also apply for the Social Security scheme. Now, that situation really hit home during the COVID situation, during the lockdowns, when we were all sent home and closed the doors. Of course, the sex workers around Thailand were going, well, what about us? Because they weren't covered under the Social Security scheme. So the 30,000 prostitutes working in Pattaya, for example, they were suddenly without any work, without any help from the government whatsoever. And the Bangkok Post story goes on saying that businesses that employ sex workers must register for licences. Operators in Bangkok would be required to register with the Metropolitan Police. Those elsewhere would have to register with provincial governors. They would receive 3 licences, renewable if they abide by the law. And aside from legalising sex work, the bill also calls for protection centres to be established to prevent violence that may occur against sex workers. And the draft bill was the product of collaboration by several agencies, including police and sex workers. And Tanta, a representative of sex workers, said she and her colleagues have been exploited and paid unfairly for years. Since sex services are illegal today, many providers pay bribes to police, and sex workers have taken part in developing the draft bill. And finally, she says they now hope to see the day when paying taxes will be cheaper than paying bribes. And that story in the BangkokPost.com. Let's move to our next story on TNT today, and this is Thai PBS World. And police raid 2 illegal clinics, arrest fake doctors in Bangkok and Patong. Thailand's Consumer Protection Division raided clinics in Lat Krabang, which is sort of the last train stop on the airport link before you get to Suvarnabhumi Airport, and Patong. They arrested 2 men who claimed to be doctors. In a raid on the clinic in Lat Krabang, the police found a 51-year-old, and the police asked to see his licence, but he couldn't produce one, and admitted that he'd worked at a hospital for about 13 years and then went abroad to attend a medical school but didn't complete his studies. It took too much time. But he claimed, however, that he likes the medical profession and decided to open his own clinic about 3 months ago to treat patients. Well, that's all you need. Just got to enjoy what you're doing. In the other raid, a 36-year-old called Krit Saran, he was treating some patients. He admitted that he doesn't have a doctor's licence or a licence to operate a clinic, but he claimed that he graduated with a medical degree from a foreign university and is now undergoing training at a state hospital and in the process of taking an exam to obtain a doctor's certificate. So, nearly there, but not quite. Both were charged with performing medical procedures without a license. Well, I'm sort of hoping it was something like Botox and not open heart surgery. And they've also been arrested for selling pharmaceuticals without a permit. So they could probably be in a world of trouble. If you are going to go to a doctor to use any services, get recommendations from friends or go to a registered hospital, don't believe every ad that you see on Facebook. And the commander of the Consumer Protection Division says that people should check the credentials of doctors and the licenses of clinics before undergoing treatment. That's probably a good idea. Moving on, and this is Suvarnabhumi Airport. This taken by somebody and posted on Australians in Thailand, showing that Suvarnabhumi is absolutely pumping there. Now, I'm not exactly sure what time this was taken, but certainly Suvarnabhumi very, very busy at the moment. Now, if you actually want to compare the numbers of tourists in Thailand to what it was at the same time back in 2019, the last full year of tourism before COVID-19, then it's around about 60 to 70% depending on where you're going in Thailand. So the numbers of tourists are increasing, but we're still nowhere near the number of tourists we had back in 2019. Now, it's interesting though, because a lot of people are saying, oh, everything's packed. Well, certainly some of the major tourism areas are, well, not exactly packed. So you go to a place like Patong, for example, even Pattaya, and those first couple of streets are very, very busy. But when you move back, some of the smaller guest houses, they're still either closed or still have plenty of rooms available. So the illusion of things being packed is an illusion. It's not quite like that. And it's also interesting to ask as to why the airports just seem to be taking so long and there seem to be delays and people having problems. Well, apart from the security changes at the moment, which is causing delays for people on outward journeys from Suvarnabhumi Airport, I think that everybody's just struggling to find competent staff. And there's just sort of this catch-up game going on for, just about every sector of the tourism and hospitality industry in Thailand at the moment. And speaking of airports, the nation, Thailand, is reporting a taxi driver has been banned from Suvarnabhumi for taking a Taiwanese visitor for a ride. Well, it's not the first time that a taxi driver has decided to take the long route to get from A to B, and a taxi driver has been banned from picking up passengers at Thailand's largest airport for allegedly using a fake list of flat rate fares to overcharge a Taiwanese visitor for a ride from Suvarnabhumi to central Bangkok. These flat rate fares. Now, if you come to Phuket, for example, that is the way that you will be charged. They're meant to use their meter, but they don't. And there's flat rates for going from the Phuket International Airport to all parts of the island. And as we've shown many times in the past, those fares are at least 3 to 4 times the amount of what it would cost with a meter. So the driver allegedly charged this Taiwanese tourist 1,200 to 1,500 baht, and the cost by meter is about 300 baht. Now, I've done that trip from Suvarnabhumi into central Bangkok, the Asok district, probably over 100 times, routinely charged about 260 to 280 baht. Now, admittedly, I'd usually be travelling earlier in the morning or late at night to avoid the traffic, so my fare might have been a bit cheaper than the average. But certainly, it's nowhere near 1,200 to 1,500 baht, and that Taiwanese tourist was taken for a ride. And the story goes on to say that he may lose his license to operate a taxi. And rightly so. So those authorities clamping down on that taxi driver there at Suvarnabhumi Airport. I'd like to invite those same taxi drivers to come down to the largest island in Thailand, to one of the most popular tourist destinations in Thailand. I'd love to see them come down and spend 24 hours at the Phuket International Airport and see the way that taxi drivers treat the tourists there. Both at the international terminal and the domestic terminal. In both cases, they're pretty rude and pushy, and you will only have the option of a flat rate. No meters at all. Well, the actual meters are there in the taxi, but they haven't been working for a long time. Apparently, it's the humidity or something. So I'd like to invite those very same authorities to come down to Phuket, because over 30 years, nobody else has been able to tackle the problems of the taxi touts and the taxi rip-offs on the island. And with that, I thank you very much for watching today. Hopefully you're a bit wiser about what's happening around Thailand. They're the main stories. And as usual, if anything big happens during the day, I'll certainly do a shorter video to bring you up to date with any of the main stories. Please subscribe to the channel. Click that like button on your way out. I thank you very much for watching, and let's do it all again tomorrow.